What's good, everybody? It's Compass here, coming back at you with another edition of our team building guide. Of course, this is our September of 2024 edition. We're going to be going through some of the players that you should be looking at to put on your team. And of course, we're going to be looking at the very new edition that we are getting later tonight from when I'm recording this video. Of course, you see on the screen Shohei Ohtani. If you like Power Pros content, make sure to like and subscribe on this channel. Make sure to check down the description for my Twitch and the Power Pros World Discord server. And let's just get into this. Of course, let's talk about our new edition of Shohei Ohtani, the first player of the 50-50 club, 51-51 club, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He's a pitcher and he's doing all this while batting. I don't even know nothing about baseball, and it's amazing what he could do. But as you can see here with this Power Pros character, he is a very good fielder, and we don't even know what he's like pitching. Uh, I heard that he doesn't have iron ball, so that's kind of killer, but he could be someone that could be really good, someone that could potentially be an Oda replacement, although I don't know how good he is going to be at pitching. But anyway, he is a very, very good slugger, as we can see. I mean, he does struggle against some left-hand pitchers, but he's very good at slugging. He's very fast. He's got an arm. He's got great abilities like slugger, laser beam. He's got like his red is strikeout. He's got a bunch of good abilities. He's got I think it's high ball hitter. One of these is full baseman, which doesn't matter. He's got the B run speed, only E stealing, which is kind of bad, but should have probably gave him something a little bit better. But he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with in corner outfield, especially with that laser beam ability and his high arm. Could potentially, with the speed, run center field, but that's something we would have to see. But he is looking like an absolute monster hitter with that 95 strength. And of course, I'm going to be streaming when he comes out. He comes out at 10 o'clock Central Time tonight. I'm going to be streaming. Of course, this will probably go up after. Probably will upload a reaction video to using him, so we will see how good he really is in gameplay. But he's got a lot of nice abilities. He's got very strong power, pretty high contact, pretty high speed. He's going to be a very, very good corner outfielder. I would look for him if he is under like 10 or so. I don't even know because he can also pitch too, and we know how valuable Oda is. We'll go over that in a little bit, but he's just very, very good, and I would look out for him. Of course, he's 689 stars. That might be the highest star count we even have in the game currently. So, yeah, but you should definitely be on the lookout for him being added into the game, and he's definitely gonna be a force to be reckoned with in the corner outfield. And of course, before we start going into the different players, I want to emphasize real quick that most people do run a two-pitcher lineup. Of course, this is a 65 cap, so it's a little bit weird, so I did bring in Sumera. We'll talk a little bit about Sumera and the purpose that I believe Sumera brings. But most people bring in two really high-cost pitchers that we will talk about, and then they will use like an Oda as a relief. We'll talk about all those players in a little bit, but the reason people run the two pitcher lineup is because of just the fact that it is only 3 inning games. It's pretty hard to run out of stamina, especially if you're bringing in two high level pitchers with S stamina or pretty high stamina, plus you're bringing in a B or A level catcher. It just makes it really hard, plus Oda relieving provides a lot of help. Yeah, that's usually the strategy that a lot of people utilize. And let's just get into some of the players. Of course, we gotta start out with Pretty much an auto include on almost everyone's team. Myojin, really high cost, but pretty much worth it. One of the best players in the game. You could argue that he is the best player. Super, super hard to hit fastball. Of course, throws 163. That fastball. All these special fastball pitchers that I'm going to talk about, they all have a heaviness property to their fastball, so it makes it a lot harder to hit a home run off of, especially when you combine iron ball with it. But of course, throws at 163 kilometers per hour, plus an A heater and gyro ball, which all makes it appear faster, which is just so tough to hit. Also has gripper and toolkit and downplay, not as important, but still nice, helpful abilities to have. But the real stars are the gyro ball and the iron ball, especially the iron ball makes him very tough to hit a home run off of. Has that 99 stamina, will not run out of stamina on you, and if you do run out of stamina, then you could really just pitch him on absolutely no stamina, and the special fastball, the heaviness is just going to take over. Of course, has the level 7 changeup, which you could really put it on the string, throw that occasionally, and it'll really throw off the timing. But he also is just such a good slugger. Not very good contact, but almost 100 power. Very fast too. Has slugger, which helps hit home runs, and eager, which is gonna help you with the first hits. Just very, very good slugger on the other hand. Just dominant two-way pitcher. Of course, moving into that, we got Unkai, pretty much the same thing, but at a lower level at 2 less cost. Has Iron Ball, Battler, which counters Menace. We'll talk about the Menace perk. And versus Slugger, which makes him better versus the Sluggers, but throws a little bit less. Has a little bit less stamina, has a little bit less heater, but has a little bit more pitch selection. That special fastball still has that heaviness property and makes it really tough to hit a home run off of. Probably a little bit easier than Myojin to hit a home run off of, but still just as dominant. Not as good of a hitter, but with sprayer and B clutch, 75 power, that's more than enough to hit a bomb off a Myojin or Unkai, which are the two, of course we're talking about them right now, but they're the two dominant pitchers. Super hard to hit home runs off of. You need someone that has super high power and these abilities. Also has clinical, which helps some contact hit if you really need to contact hit. Yeah, dude, not much more you could say, just one of the top pitchers. Of course, we're going into like the little brother of them, a little bit less used, but just as good of an arm talent is Mileman. Of course, he's better in a relieving role because of that Tyrant. That Tyrant will decrease the batter's contact by a certain amount if you relieve them. Also has that Iron Ball and that special fastball, got that heaviness property. A little bit less control, but throws a little bit faster with that B heater too. Also has a stamina, which really helps out when you're relieving them. A little bit more high cost, but not really seen too much anymore. And that's just mainly because he really can't hit. He kind of sucks at hitting, and whenever you're paying this much for him and you could get a Myojin or an Unkai or even a Kiba that we're about to talk about that can hit, it's just hard to justify paying this much for someone that you can't bring in as a pinch hitter. Next up, we're gonna move on to Kiba. Kiba also has a really heavy fastball, a little bit less heavy than the guys that we have mentioned in the past, but it's a little bit slower. Has that A heater, also that Iron Ball, which really helps out with that heaviness. But the thing with him is his fastball, it really rises, so you could throw it like underneath the zone and it'll rise up. It does a little, upwards motion, so it makes it a lot harder to hit. Also has that Crossfire, which we haven't talked about yet. Crossfire, since he's a left-hand pitcher, when he throws it to the right-hand side on a right-hand batter, it does appear faster, on the inside. Of course, that inside pitch is prone to getting smacked if they are sitting there, but Kiba is a really nice pitcher. I mean, definitely a nice alternative to Unkai. Also can be a little bit easier to hit, has slugger, a little bit less power, but does have slugger. Also a clutch and more contact, doesn't have that clinical, but more just straight on contact, so that PCI is bigger, a little bit faster. So yeah, Kiba's also a really nice option. Moving on to the non-fastball people, we got Doe. Doe is really good. I've seen a lot of, or I've heard a lot of people are running Doe now over a player that we are about to talk to about, Atsu. But his cutter is just really hard to hit. If you're using him, most people are using him with 2-tap. They're gonna spam him in that top right corner. Super hard to hit. Pretty much impossible to hit if you're trying to power swing it. Also has iron ball. The cutter is a level 7, pretty much his main deadly weapon, and moves so much. Fastball isn't too bad either, but anything else is prone to getting smacked. Pretty much everyone that uses Doe is just gonna spam that top right corner over and over again, or at least that right side, especially if it's the outside pitch. If it's like a left-hand batter, they can potentially contact it and pull it, but it just makes it a whole lot harder if it's a right-hand batter. Alright, moving on to Atsumori. Pretty much the strategy is the same. The special ball is a little bit harder to hit than the cutter is, because it moves a lot more. It's like, instead of just a cutter that doesn't move that much, it is a whole special ball that starts out like over here and then moves quickly over here. It makes it really hard to hit, but the thing about it is, since it's a special pitch, it takes a lot of stamina to use. And once you run out of stamina with Atsu, of course he has the S stamina, but once you run out of stamina, he's done for. Also, he is a pretty good slugger. I mean, it's not fast or anything, but he's got A power, B hitting, he's got slugger, he's got rally. But the reason people are using Doe over him is because Doe has more power, clinical, slugger, sprayer, more perks, B clutch, just an overall better slugger. Even if he's only got G speed at 10, it's not like Atsu had a bunch of speed, but yeah, that's why people are running Doe. He's just a lot better slugger. Those are like the top tier pitchers that I would say that people run, that you could really run against like anybody and get away with it. Some other pitchers that are good are Aoba. His slider moves a lot, really hard to hit. Could potentially sneak out some wins against some better opponents, but really just like a low PR like Menace. I mean, if someone has like the knowledge of the slider, they can possibly hit it, but it's just a very hard slider to really hit. He also has Iron Ball, Dr. K, Battler. Of course, Battler helps out when he has a low stamina. Pretty much everyone just spams that special slider, so that stamina tends to run out. It can run out in the 3-inning game pretty quick. He has B hitting, kind of alright contact hitter, doesn't have clinical or anything, but he can kind of hit. But yeah, that slider is super deadly, especially since he has Dr. K. It helps out on 2 strikes and with runners in scoring position. Just very hard pitch to hit. He's a very easy to use, I would say, if you are a new player. Someone else that's also in the same tier that's really cheap right now and could potentially be a really good option is Asa. Special forkball drops like really quickly. Also has that bullet ability, which is the gold heater with 155, and makes that fastball really appear super fast. Also has Iron Ball, but no heaviness on that special forkball, and I find that special forkball can kind of be easy to hit at times for the best players, but Definitely a very good option for the 10 points. That's that forkball can be tough to hit if the person doesn't have any knowledge of how to hit it. Also, very good hitter, especially in clutch time with Rally and Victor. Slugger, 75 power, 75 hitting, so that PCI is pretty big. So definitely one of the better sluggers in the game. Afro Kari, a little bit more expensive, but has a very, very nice curveball. Of course, that special fastball is there too. It rises, but it emits a super bright light, so not a lot of people use it. A lot of people just spam the curveball, which is level 7 and very hard to hit. He has Iron Ball. Momentum, so if he starts pitching, if he starts and it's like the 3rd inning, he gets momentum, which makes his curveball even more deadly. Of course, he has very nice control and stamina, but the real kicker with him is he's an elite slugger, S power, slugger, and sprayer, B clutch. The 65 hitting is definitely not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. And he has rally, plus he's pretty fast too. He's very good at slugging, but against like a higher tier opponent, he's probably getting smacked. Same with Asa. Another person in like this tier that's probably getting smacked a little bit harder is Ribukai. Of course, a very good slugger. Has slugger, pull hit, rally, some pretty good stats. Sprayer and pull hit are basically the opposite of each other. Pull hit is if you pull it with using power swing, it's more. Sprayer is if you push it while using power swing, it's harder hit. But he also has the Carver, Stealed ability. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know exactly what those do, but he has Iron Ball and Tyrant. Tyrant, of course, we talked about earlier, so use him in that relieving position. His special slider is kind of easy to hit because it is kind of, you know, it's very slow. If you played Powerfest before against Ribu and Ribukai, you know how slow that slider is. A lot of good people will smack it, but that Shudo, you can really spam it in that bottom left corner, and it kind of works similar to an Atsu special ball, but it can kind of get hit. But yeah, he has pretty nice speed, pretty nice stamina, pretty decent option, I would say. And I mean, other than that, I don't know who else is really in here that's worth using. We saw Kirill during the Chinese Taipei finals. Did kind of get smacked. That pitcher doesn't have Iron Ball, which really hurts, but the bullet really helps. The fastball speed, has decent control and stamina. I've never used them at pitcher, so I don't really know. I've never really used Kirill before, but it doesn't look like they would be too good, especially without Iron Ball, but they are definitely very good in the field. I mean, they have almost D fielding and everything, but very nice run speed, very nice arm strength, has a lot of nice hitting stuff, has slugger, sprayer, menace, could potentially be a nice bat. Not sure how that would work out. Probably someone with more experience would have to tell me. Kagarazaka is also a nice option at 3 with the level 7 curveball, especially against a lot of the lower PR people. Just going to be a very nice option to spam the curveball with. Pretty much the same as Kariba, but a little bit cheaper. Of course, Kariba is a little bit better, but Kagarazaka is a nice option too. Both of them. And lastly, Sumera. Sumera has a lead ball, which is the gold iron ball ability. I just run Sumera against like the less than 45 PRs or less than 50 because they kind of have a rough time hitting against him, but really shouldn't use him against anyone of quality, anyone of 50 PR and above. they'll probably smack him out of this planet. So yeah, I mean, the lead ball, it kind of helps, but at the same time, he's not the best, but I like to run him. Alright, and that's the end of the pitchers. I don't really think that anyone else is really worth too much running on your team. Of course, you got the free pitchers, but none of the free pitchers you should be like running or anything, less like in dire circumstances. So let's move on to the position players. Of course, all these 3-star A catcher dudes are pretty good. I don't know if you could say they're meta, but A catcher really helps out your pitcher stamina. It gives you like a plus 15 boost to their stamina, plus some boost to their control. But if you're using 2-tap, control shouldn't matter too much for you unless you're just starting out. Akahara is probably my favorite. Has B clutch, which helps out their abilities of people's on base, but B power, not the best slugger in the world, but with A catcher and for 3 stars, probably the best slugger you could get. Can kind of hit bombs if you get them in the right position. Sakura no Miya is probably the more contact hitting option of this. Has the A catcher, nice throwing, I should say, could throw out a lot of people easy, but just kind of average, kind of I don't see a lot of Sakura no Miya. I see a lot more people running Rokudo. If you were to run Sakura no Miya, has that A catcher, that B throwing, although doesn't have that same arm strength that Sakura no Miya does. But just has that heckler ability, which really helps out if someone's on like runners in scoring position. The batter gets like lowered to their contact because of the catcher, so it just really helps out if you're in a bind. Rokudo, pretty nice catcher. I would say the real argument is between Akahara and Rokudo. Of course, the level 4 catcher Suwano's alright A catcher. But if you're running someone, you should probably be running Suzumu Ukari. He's pretty good. He's got clinical, almost B contact, A catcher, pretty fast. Also has sprayer, so you could possibly power hit with him. Dieta is pretty expensive, but he's a really nice hitter. He has A catcher, but I don't know if he's a good enough hitter to sacrifice 7 points for him unless you're in a higher cost tournament like a 75, or especially like the 100 cost tournament that's going on right now. He's just pretty expensive. Who else we got? Hoshizora is probably the most meta catcher right now because of the clinical ability, his speed, and the B catcher only at 2 cost. I mean, he's a very nice option for 55 cap with the B catcher and the clinical high contact. Very nice. Also, Gobu's a pretty alright option. Has slugger but doesn't have the best power. Kind of hard to hit Myojin and Unkai for power with him. Doesn't have clinical to help him out, so you kind of have to power swing, but also does well against some left-hand pitchers. Has B catcher, nice throwing, and also can play the shortstop and second base and third base at a pretty decent level. Let's see. Kuriki, not someone you should be using at catcher, but a nice DH option. Has slugger. The mood swinger, I do want to point out, if you have someone with mood swinger, if you have one person with mood swinger, I would suggest putting one person in like the backups, which is like completely out the lineup because they get like a mood reset. So let me show you where I have Kuriki. Kuriki is in these like empty spots. These would be like, everything in here is like the yellow team slots, the yellow fielder slots. He's in the backup, so let's pull up my lineup real quick for y'all. He gets a full reset on his mood, so he has a much higher chance of being in pink mood, which the mood swinger really helps out with. He becomes a beast if he's on pink. Anyway, other catchers, Minuzaka, pretty decent slugger with beat catcher. Doesn't have any slugging abilities, but pretty nice power. Could be a decent option. Has Victor. Let's see. Sakai for 1 cost is not the best hitting option, but has that heckler and beat catcher. Also pretty fast, so could really start stealing them bases with them. Also, we have Komodo, pretty alright slugging option, beat catcher, pretty much just like, you know, a budget version of Akahara. And then last but not least, we have Honda at 4 cost, one of the best pinch hitters in the game, has that pinched option. Should never be really catching with that E-catcher, but has slugger, pinch, 85 power, so he's really good at pinch hitting. So yeah, that's pretty much like all the catchers that we could go over. I think those are all the catchers that I have on my notes that are useful. Let's go on to the first baseman. Well, at the very top, of course, we have the 3 here that are all useful, but they're really hard to fit into a super, not a low cost team, but anything like below 75, they're just hard to really fit into your team. Start out with Boo. Boo's really nice. He has slugger, S contact, S power, A clutch. One of the best hitters in the game. Very, very good. He's pretty decent in the field too at first base. Yeah, just one of the best options you could have. Another option you can have is Onawake, a little bit lower contact, I mean a lot lower contact. Also has that blunder, so if people are in scoring position, he's more prone to making an error, but does have that homer ability, which is gold slugger, and has that sprayer ability. Also has that morale ability, which is very important. Has mood swinger, which I don't know if I would run him in the backups. He's a little bit too good for all that. That could really break him if he does roll a purple mood, which is more likely. But it does have that morale ability, which really helps him out. If you want to run like Ome or something, because you already have one free morale player. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Some other options that people like running are Deichmann, pretty high power, slugger, a clutch, has menace too, which menace it if he's on deck or at bat, it's more so at bat, it's more of a boost, but it's like -10 stamina consumption whenever he's on deck, and -15 whenever he's at bat, so he's just very good. Menace is just a very good ability. Of course, he has morale, which we talked about earlier. Edogawa is in the same kind of vein as Deichmann, has slugger, doesn't have that menace, has lower contact, but has setter, which if no one's on base, it really helps. Very good leadoff hitter, also has that morale. If we come up here to some of the more higher costs, we got Kushida. Kushida, a little bit low power, but has slugger and pull hit, which really help him. Also low hit. Can really slug if given the opportunity, a clutch, but at first base, there's a lot better sluggers. Ochai is pretty alright. He has menace, slugger, a power. He also can contact hit a little bit if you are looking for more of a small ball option. There's just a lot of people that you could really go with. Gundo has leader, which is gold morale, which is plus 10 to everybody's stats instead of the plus 5 that morale usually does. I didn't explain morale, but morale gives you a plus 5 boost to pretty much all your stats. Has A throwing. He's pretty nice in outfield, really. He has C outfield, but he has nice run speed, very good arm, but no real slugging abilities, which makes him kinda harder to bat with. He definitely can be done, but it's just a lot harder. Who else do we have? Maximum Christine has very high power, menace, slugger, B clutch, but pretty low contact. I've seen people run him. Pretty decent choice. Let's see who we have. We got, of course, down here we got Sanban Matsu. Pretty decent at first base because you don't need that fielding too much, but also makes a pretty nice pinch hitter or DH with that 90 power. Only one cost, slugger, 90 power. Pretty worth, if I do say so myself, but Kuriki can be better if you're just looking for the pinch hitter, but let's see, who else do we have? Ichio is pretty much the same as, you know, Sanban, but he does have Mood Swinger, which can help out a little bit if you want to put him in the backups, but can hurt him. I would only do that if you aren't, like, too much relying on him. If he's just, like, if you can really afford to have him on a purple mood game one time. Coming up here to all the really good high cost players, Kiyomoto. Of course, we know how good Kiyomoto is. If you've played this game at all, he's one of the best hitters in the game. All these dudes are super good. Slugger, sprayer, rally, all great abilities. 98 power, 84 contact. Very good third base and first base. Yeah, there's just not much you could say about him. Super good first base, and Sendo has a bunch of great abilities. Slugger, sprayer, pinch, which if you have like a first baseman, a free first baseman, you could sub him out and then Sendo will get a boost. 91 hitting and 90 power. Zealous, which is gold. Eager, which first pitch he gets a boost from. Just a very good player. And then Takimoto, of course, 96 power, 82 hit. Some of the best abilities in the game. All these dudes are just so expensive, but they're so good at hitting. They're just very good. Some people you should really look at. We go on to the free players. The only one that I really need to highlight is Kawahashi. Can kind of be a pinch hitter, but has that morale ability, which is most important. Should always have on the team for the morale ability, which I explained earlier. It was plus 5 to all abilities. Moving on to the second baseman, everyone just runs cheap second baseman. If you do not like really care about blunder, you can run Nagise into Wachan, but it's kind of dicey because blunder, if people are in scoring position, they're more likely to make an error, so you really don't want your second baseman making errors. Also, Nagise can play like a bunch of different positions, so if you need them to like play utility, maybe should look more into the one cost direction. But the 3 one cost players that people really look at are Nomi. Nomi's a really nice option, very pretty quick, pretty nice fielding. Also pretty good contact hitter with clinical, setter, rally, clutch. B runner helps out a lot. Should not hit if people are in scoring position, but if you're looking to like pinch hit and then go into like a Wachan or a Nagise with these one cost players, probably should go with Aseki. Aseki's really slow. He has nice contact, but you shouldn't be really trying to hit with him just due to that low run speed, but has Glover, which is a very nice ability. Also has nice throwing. Has a very good fielding. Won't ever make an error for you. Whether Nomi or Iseki are better in the field is a debate, but also a very nice option. Third option at 1 is Saburi. Has clinical and also a runner with B run speed. Probably not as good of a fielder as the other two, but definitely a nice contact option. Probably my favorite out of the 3 if I'm not going to pinch hit. But I think the most popular option from these 3 is Nomi, but I don't know, I'm very skeptical on Nomi myself. Those are pretty much what everyone's running. If it's a more of a higher cost tournament, people might be running Uragua because of the Glover. Pretty nice ability to hit and to field, but just a lot of cheaper options. Also, Nieptet is pretty fast and can play a bunch of different positions. Can play second base, shortstop, and outfield pretty effectively. Has gesture ability, but we're going to talk about someone at the same cost in a little bit that it's just a better version than them, especially with that F throwing. Really hurts, especially in the outfield. Alright, we're moving on to the third base. The third base is one of the more stacked positions in the game. Of course, we got the best player in the game, Oda. Oda is the one that makes the 2-pitcher strat possible. One of the best hitters in the game, has Chaser, one of the best abilities to counter the Atsu and Doe spammers. Also has 98 power. Pretty quick, has nice arm strength, can play third base very phenomenally. Can also play outfield pretty well, corner outfield. I wouldn't put him in center outfield, but pretty nice corner outfielder. The thing about him is he can also pitch very well, has Iron Ball, A heater, 152. Very deadly on the pitching side, and he creates so much for you on your team just by having him on there. Just gives you another reliever. If you want to use him, then you're just gonna go to the fielding option in game and then just eliminate your DH and put your pitcher as Oda. You gotta go to the fielding option. You can't go to the pitching option, just in case you want to know. Next up we have might as well go with Regu. Pretty expensive option, has Menace Slugger. Not as much power as Oda. Could also play the corner outfield decently well, not as well as Oda can, but a little bit faster than Oda, not as strong. Has the Slugger, Menace of course. Just can't pitch like Oda, of course. That's what makes Oda so good, but he's a pretty decent option at 7, but there's people you could get cheaper. Of course, Franken Oda is there. Franken Oda shouldn't really be played at aim position. He's just too slow, too bad at fielding, but does have Gold Homer, which really helps hit bombs. He has 98 power, not a good contact, but with lock on 3 it works. But he has the same pitching as regular Oda, so also creates a lot of opportunities on your team. Other people at third base, we got Fukuya. Fukuya has pretty nice power, pretty okay fielding. He's not the best. He has pretty decent arm strength, but he's not fast, and he's not the best. But has Slugger, Sprayer, Rally, and Menace, all 3 abilities which are very good. Rally will show up end game. Yeah, he's a pretty nice option, but kinda expensive. You also have Shacho at 3 less, which he's a very good fielder at third base with 75 fielding and 70 run speed. Not a lot of third base have that. Plus the B throwing really helps out the C arm strength, which isn't even bad in the first place. Only holdback is the 35 hit, but if you get someone in scoring position, that goes up, and he has so much power. He has Slugger. He's a super nice option at third base. Another option, if you want to go more of the contact route and someone who's one of the better defenders at third base in the game, is Shimada. Shimada has clinical 70 hit. Also, whenever the late game goes on and there's someone in scoring position, you can hit for power with that rally and that 8 clutch. Also has morale, which helps you get another morale player. Of course, morale doesn't stack, but we're about to talk about someone that it's useful that you should have an extra morale player on your team for if you do want to roster them. At one less, Sakami Lifter has that gold homer. Not the best at fielding, but has nice arm strength. Pull hit pretty nice, but mostly the homer and the high power makes him really good. At same cost, you got Takeno, a very controversial player, love or hate. He has very nice run speed, very nice fielding. Not too good of an arm, has E throwing and only C arm strength, but has eager, which helps him hit. If you start him at the beginning of the lineup, I believe that he's a very good beginning of the lineup person. Very good against left-handed pitchers. He's a very fast runner with that B runner. I don't think that the F stealing really hurts him too much just because of how fast he is, and I think that his power is enough to hit bombs. I do hit a decent amount of bombs, especially with eager. I think that he's one of the better players in the game, but of course, he's not the absolute best fielder or anything, but can also play in the outfield. The outfield fielding is pretty low, but 97 speed really makes up for it. Yeah, and it's just gotta see how you play with him, see how he works out for you. Furunaga is like a budget Shacho, I would say. Pretty decent fielding, has slugger, has a little bit more contact but less power at only 80. But he has slugger, pull hit, high hit, so that really helps him out there. Can play that third base pretty well. Bando, nice DH option, has menace and sprayer, pretty decent power and almost B run speed, almost A contact too, which really helps out. Slam Fam helps you out if you got bases loaded, which doesn't happen too much, but just in case. Checker doesn't really work, but he's a pretty nice DH option, if I do say so myself. Ome is free, but you should not roster Ome because of the buzzkill unless you have another morale player on your team. Of course, you have Kawahashi, but buzzkill completely cancels out morale. So if you're using Ome and Kawahashi on your team, you basically just have no morale. So yeah, if you're running another morale player, Ome's a good player to roster. If you're not, I would not take that risk and roster Ome and take away the morale boost. But yeah, I think that's all the third baseman. At shortstop's a pretty tricky position because, I mean, I would say the best option is just Kirasaki. Kirasaki's a very good contact hitter, can kind of hit for power, almost S speed, very strong arm, can steal, very good fielder. For only 3 costs, it's just so much. Izuyoi's also a nice option, has Joker, which disturbs the pitcher and makes them do more stamina whenever they're in scoring position or on base, I think. Also has clinical. Glover, one of the best fielders in the game, especially with that S fielding, that B run speed. Line drive really helps. Tomizawa, only one more, has slugger, very nice slugger at almost A power. Pretty fast, nice fielding too. Can also hit for contact with clinical. Kamira also, I'm not too high on Kamira, but you could play her at like second base, I would say. Her stats are pretty good, all 81 except the catching. Has menace also, but just no like slugger or anything. For 4 costs, it's just kinda iffy with no slugger, no clinical or anything, sprayer, any of those abilities helping. Who else do we have? Ban is a pretty nice option. Ban has Bullseye, which is gold throwing, helps out a lot. Also slugger with 75 power. Glover, pretty decent defender. Also has rally. The only thing is the easy out, which is 2 strikes and his power goes down. But he is one of the better shortstops in the game. Komasaka is pretty good. He's a very, very good fielder. Also has clinical, 75 hit, can get on base, and has the B stealing with the 82 speed. Very deadly. Also has B throwing, just an all-around very good defender. And he could also play third base and second base just as good. So he's, a lot of people are saying he's an elite utility option. I haven't had much experience with him, so I can't say too much about that, but I hear a lot of people do like to use him. Going down here, we have Javelin. Javelin's pretty alright, contact hitter, pretty fast, pretty can or power hit if you need to. Pretty nice fielder. Also plays third base pretty decently if you need him to. Batter eye, and they're pretty alright, but they up their costs. Azuma is a really nice option at 1 cost. Nice shortstop option, nice utility option, especially at second base, and also has morale. Can also kind of power hit. Kind of a nice second base option if we're being real here, but B throwing helps out a lot. B clutch. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. There's Yukami, nice DH option with sprayer and clinical, 70 hit, 90 power. That's someone you should look out for. Yeah, let's move on to our outfielders. Vanguard, one of the most dominant hitters in the game, almost A hit, almost S power, has slugger, sprayer, and menace, 3 of the best hitting in the game. Also very useful in the corner outfielders, in the corner outfield with all D. Nanai, basically a worse version of Vanguard for 2 less. I don't have much experience with Nanai, but pretty nice hitter. Kagemi, low contact, very nice fielder and hitter. Just has that G clutch, so you pretty much have to lead them off. Has chaser, which is a very rare and dominant ability. Laser, A throwing, very, very good, but kind of falling out the meta just because of how expensive they are and how many cheap fielders you can possibly get. So there's the combo of 4-star outfielders who are all pretty good. Of course, Saga has A everything, pretty nice contact option, nice outfield option with 80 run speed, 70 fielding, 55 catching's pretty alright, has Victor. Yeah, pretty nice contact option. You could power hit if you are going up against a lesser pitcher. Garcia has a little bit more power, but I prefer Saga over him because the F throwing, could kind of steal, has clutch, so can probably power hit the best out of these 3, but just the F throwing kind of kills it for me. Vanguard, very good against left-hand pitchers. Also a nice clinical option, has less power, also has menace, but just not as good of a fielder, not as fast, not as strong as Saga, but does make less errors. I mean, if you are looking for more of the contact menace option, I would go Kohlberg. Both of these players I would say are pretty equal, and I would kind of steer clear of Garcia just because of the F throwing if it was me, but if you're looking for more of a power option at that, you could go with Garcia. It's not going to be the end of the world. But anyway, some other fielders. We got Shibuya. Shibuya has menace and clutch. Also almost S power. Pretty nice. Pretty nice corner outfielder with a nice arm. B arm is pretty nice. Almost C run speed, so pretty decent fielder. Murasame is one of the best fielders in the game, especially at 3 costs, but just not really a hitter. Almost S in every single outfield stat, has laser and B throwing tube and Glover, but just kind of hard to hit with. You got Tenoji. Tenoji's pretty alright. Tenoji has pretty good fielder and pretty alright hitter. Can kind of hit bombs with the eager ability, but after that it's just kind of hard with only push hit. But very nice fielder, very nice center field option. You got Kazanin is pretty alright pinch hitter, especially with the Joker ability. The Joker, think we explained it earlier with Izuyoi. Shido, pretty decent center field option, has 71 speed, 70 fielding, so definitely could get to those balls, especially with the Glover ability, which helps her off the jump. Has the clinical ability with almost B contact and B runner, which makes her pretty deadly on the base pass, so she's a pretty alright option. Sakigake, pretty alright too. He's nice fielder. Okay hitter, doesn't have clinical or anything, but on the base pass he's pretty good, and against left-hand pitchers he's pretty good. Arm strength is there too. Hayatani is basically like, I would say, the budget Shibuya. Doesn't have the menace, but has the slugger, has laser. Pretty decent in the field, pretty nice corner outfielder, especially with the arm strength that he does. Has the B runner and the B clutch, so that really helps out. Hino, nice DH with all 85s and hit power run speed, but with G catching you should never put him out on the field. Has clinical and sprayer, but just never put him out on the field. He's a very elite DH, but just not somebody you should be putting out on the field. 1 cost fielders, there's really just Satine, has Magnet, which is gold Glover, also Jester, which is blue Joker. A clutch kind of makes up for clinical if people are on base, but pretty nice cheap center fielder that kind of struggles with hitting, if we're being honest. Kanehara is a pretty nice contact option, has clinical, very great on the base pass. Setter, nice leadoff option, has the B stealing and B runner at 75 run speed. D fielding kind of holds him back from being able to run the center field, but very nice corner outfield. Bito, pretty nice all around option, especially when A clutch and rally kicking. You can kind of power hit with Bito, but just a very solid clinical hitter. Also a very nice fielder. I would say her and Kanehara are like kind of equal. I see people running them the same amount. Takeda's pretty decent power option and PH option. Has that pinch ability, which is going to boost the power and the hit. Struggles against left-hand pitchers, but does really well when people are in scoring position. And of course, if you put them in the backups, like we said earlier, it's going to really help out. Yabe is pretty much the only free outfielder you could use. If you want to use like a good fielder and you want to pinch hit, you can use Yabe as like a corner outfielder, or maybe even a center fielder if you're feeling brave. Not really the best hitter, also pretty good pinch runner, so I would just include Yabe on the team. Let's see who else there is. Someone we forgot earlier that is on my team, Black. Very fast, very good fielding, very great center field option, a very meta center fielder. Has clinical and rally, which really helps out their hitting, especially against left-hand pitchers and with people on base. Throw them at the end of the lineup and they're very nice. And if you really need to, they can play second base and shortstop at a passable level, especially with the S run speed. But just in the corner, or not in the corner, in center outfield, they are very good. They're going to get to a lot. That's why a lot of people do run him at center field. Anyone I'm missing out on? Last person I should talk about is Toy, the most expensive outfielder. Of course, you see all the outfielding stats. Also, pretty nice hitter with clinical, only 60 hitting, but does have clinical. Rally versus ace, slugger. He does have Glover, which helps him out in the field too, but ace stealing with 99 run speed is deadly. Slugger, almost 8 power. He's very good, but just at 9 cost, he's just too expensive to really use outside of high cost tournaments, so it's really hard to just get any use out of him. I think that's all the all the fielders that we really need to go over. If there's anyone that I missed throughout the video that you think should be highlighted, or you want to just ask me about, just throw it in the comments and I'll give you my opinion on the player and their cost. But let me show you what I would create as a 55 cost team right now with the current meta. Alright guys, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't take too much time on this 55 cap team, so this is probably not the best that I can make, but this is something that I came up with. This is kind of like a baseline. Of course, we got the double-headed lineup of Myojin and Unkai. Two of the best pitchers of the game. I picked both of them because you can pitch both of them on no stamina. It's no problem. Their heavy fastball is gonna get through it. I think they're the two best candidates for the two-pitcher lineup. And then we get down to the fielders. We got Black in center field. Well, we basically got all these players. Of course, Lifter can be swapped out for somebody, but these are all some of the players that we got. Let me show you the lineup and I'll explain more from there. Of course, pitching, we got Two-Headed Monster. We also got Oda backing up. We got Kanehara, starting out for us, leading off, getting that setter. Nice, he's gonna contact hit for us with that S power and that B run speed. Pretty nice corner outfielder. Other corner outfielder is Oda, of course the best hitter in the game, or one of the best hitters in the game, especially with that chaser ability, that slugger and that sprayer. Also can come in and pitch for us if we need to against a lower ranked opponent. We also have Boo here, one of the most powerful hitters in the game with both S power and S hitting, and slugger and A clutch, so if any of these guys are on base still, Boo can just knock them in. After that, we got Lifter Tsukami, pretty nice third baseman for 2 costs with Homer, S power, pretty nice, just nice player to have. The DH option is going to be whoever pitches between Unkai and Myojin, so one of those two is probably going to be the pinch hitter. Of course, we got Kurosaki coming after, probably gonna, you would probably want to hit for contact with them, try to get these two on base. You could really try to, get one of them on base. If you're in a dire position at this point, then you can pinch hit Black, but of course you could still hit for Black. Black isn't a bad hitter at all, especially with the clinical and all the abilities. Also someone that you want to keep in the game, but if you really do need to pinch hit for them, you can pinch hit either your other pitcher, Unkai or Myojin, whoever you're not using, and then sub in Yabe at that position. Or you can sub in Kuriki, who's in backups right now, just for the mood boost. Of course, Kuriki has the mood swinger, but that's why he's back there. And of course, Nagise, one of the free second basemen. Pretty decent second baseman. Once it comes to him, you want to pinch hit and get in whoever's left of Kuriki and your other pitcher, and then sub in Wachan from there. Wachan's a pretty decent second baseman from there, and Yeah, that's the strat. That's what I would do in a 55 cost tournament. Of course, we're in a 100 cost tournament, so you could kind of just go wild, pick up the best players. But yeah, I think that's a pretty solid team right there that you could possibly use as a starting point. All right, I think that's the end of our team building guide from September 2024. Of course, this will probably change the later and later you watch it from the date I upload it as cost change comes in, as we learn how good Ohtani is. Of course, I'm going to be uploading a video on Ohtani once he drops tonight. I don't know if that will come out before this or after this, but he hasn't come out yet, so that's what I'm planning on. I'm probably gonna stream whenever he comes out, stream my reaction. So this comes out before, check that out. He should be really good. I also want to apologize for the lack of content recently. It's just been getting hectic around here. Of course, you see in the background we're set back up at our setup. So hopefully the content will keep on rolling in, especially with Captain's League coming around, and especially with my trip from North Carolina. Um, Coming up soon. I hope that I can get out some content. Hopefully this team building guide helped out a lot, and if you have any questions about anything that I said or any players that I missed out on, you want my opinion, just make sure to ask in them comments. Also make sure to like and subscribe, check out in the description for all those things, and it's Compass tuning out. See ya.